The true power of this message is the understanding that love does not begin in the outer world, it begins within you. The relationship you experience with another person is first created in your consciousness long before it appears physically. Every thought you repeat, every assumption you hold, and every feeling you nurture about yourself and the person you desire becomes the blueprint for what unfolds in your reality. Once you understand this, you stop chasing love outside yourself and begin cultivating it internally first. To act as if someone is already deeply in love with you is not about pretending or living in fantasy. It is about stepping into the emotional state of already being chosen, valued, adored, and secure. It means you no longer identify as someone waiting for love to happen. Instead, you become the version of yourself who already experiences it naturally. This shift changes everything because the outer world always reflects the state you occupy internally. Most people unknowingly create distance in relationships through fear, insecurity, doubt, and longing. They constantly wonder what the other person feels, analyze every action, and look for proof that they are loved. But those inner states only reinforce separation. When your mind is filled with uncertainty, you continue projecting uncertainty into your experience. However, the moment you begin assuming that the person already loves you deeply and naturally, your entire energy changes. You begin thinking differently. Your inner conversations become softer, calmer, and more confident. Instead of imagining rejection, distance, or confusion, you start imagining affection, closeness, loyalty, and devotion. You stop emotionally chasing because within yourself you already feel chosen, and that inner certainty becomes magnetic. The outer world is not independent from your consciousness. It mirrors the assumptions you persist in. If you constantly see someone as unavailable or uninterested, reality will continue reflecting that version back to you. But when you deliberately change the role you assign them in your imagination, the dynamic begins to shift. You start relating to a new version of them internally. And over time, that new version becomes expressed externally. This is why imagination is so important. Imagination is not meaningless fantasy. It is the creative center of reality. Every relationship, every transformation, every emotional experience begins as an inner act. When you imagine someone loving you, choosing you, thinking about you, and expressing affection toward you, you are planting a seed in consciousness. And consciousness always seeks expression. The key is emotional embodiment. It is not enough to repeat words while secretly feeling fear. You must actually feel what it would be like if the love you desired were already real. Feel the calmness of being secure in someone's affection. Feel the warmth of being appreciated and prioritized. Feel the peace that comes from no longer questioning your worth. Those emotions are what shift your state. When you embody the feeling of already being loved, you naturally become more attractive, confident, and grounded. You stop acting from desperation. You stop needing constant reassurance. You move through life differently because your identity changes. Instead of feeling like someone trying to earn love, you become someone who naturally expects love, and people respond to the version of you that you believe yourself to be. This message also reminds you that circumstances do not matter as much as people think they do. Current appearances are only reflections of previous assumptions. What matters is the state you occupy now. The past does not define the future unless you continue emotionally living in it. The moment you choose a new assumption and persist in it, you begin creating a different reality. Persistence is essential because the outer world may not change instantly. Many people give up too quickly because they keep checking for evidence. But manifestation happens internally first. Your job is not to force the outside world to change. Your job is to remain faithful to the feeling of already being loved until it becomes natural to you. Once the inner state stabilizes, the outer reflection follows. This teaching is ultimately about identity and self-concept. If you see yourself as unwanted, abandoned, or not enough, relationships will continue reflecting those fears back to you. But if you begin seeing yourself as worthy, adored, secure, and deeply loved, your experiences start aligning with that new self-image. Love flows more easily because you are no longer resisting it internally. You are not powerless in your relationships. Your imagination, emotions, and assumptions shape the dynamics you experience. The version of yourself who is already loved exists now, and you step into that reality by embodying its feelings in the present moment. You do not need to beg, manipulate, or convince anyone. The true transformation happens within you first. In the end, this message is not really about controlling another person. It is about transforming your own consciousness. It is about becoming someone who no longer lives in fear of rejection or separation. It is about realizing that love begins as an inner experience before it becomes an outer event. When you truly accept yourself as someone who is deeply loved, cherished, and chosen, reality eventually mirrors that belief back to you. The outer world always follows the inner state. Change the inner story, and the outer story changes with it. That is the deeper lesson behind acting as if they are already madly in love with you. It is not deception, it is creation. When you truly understand this principle, you realize that love is never something you chase, force, or beg for. Love begins within. The moment you accept yourself as already chosen, adored, valued, and deeply loved, your entire reality starts to transform around that belief. The outer world has no choice but to mirror the assumptions you consistently hold inside yourself. What once felt uncertain begins to soften, what once felt distant begins to move closer, and what once felt impossible starts unfolding naturally. This speech reminds us that imagination is not fantasy. It is the creative force shaping every relationship, every experience, and every outcome in life. The inner conversations you repeat, the feelings you entertain, and the assumptions you accept as true become the blueprint of your reality. When you stop living in fear, rejection, and doubt, and instead step fully into the feeling of already being loved, respected, and desired, you shift into a completely different version of yourself. And from that new state, everything changes. The power was never outside of you. It was always in your consciousness, your imagination, and your ability to persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Acting as if someone already loves you deeply is not delusion. It is alignment. It is choosing the reality you want instead of reacting to the one you no longer desire. The more you dwell in that certainty, the more natural it becomes, until eventually the outer world catches up and reflects the love you first created within. In the end, the message is simple but life-changing. You are the operant power in your reality. What you assume with feeling, faith, and persistence must eventually appear in your world. Stop searching for proof outside yourself. Become the person who already has the love, peace, confidence, and fulfillment you desire. Once you embody that state internally, life will begin arranging people, circumstances, and experiences to match it. Love is not something you wait for. It is something you allow by first believing you are already worthy of receiving it. The more you settle into the feeling of already being loved, the more effortless it all begins to feel. What once seemed uncertain slowly transforms into something natural and familiar. You catch yourself smiling for no reason, feeling their affection in your heart as though it already surrounds you. Your thoughts about love begin to change. The way you speak about relationships changes. Even the way you see yourself becomes softer, calmer, and more secure. You stop fighting for validation because inwardly you already feel chosen. And in that inner peace, everything starts shifting. Your imagination becomes a safe and beautiful space where love feels alive and undeniable. When you close your eyes, you can almost feel them beside you. You hear the warmth in their voice, sense their closeness, and experience the comfort of being fully adored. But you are no longer imagining from a place of desperation or longing. You imagine from certainty, from fulfillment, from the quiet confidence that this love already belongs to you. This is where real transformation happens, not through force, not through obsession, and not through constant searching for signs, but through gentle persistence. Day after day, you return to the feeling of already being loved. Slowly, the old identity built around rejection, fear, or uncertainty begins to fade. In its place, a new version of you emerges, someone who naturally expects love, receives love, and feels worthy of love without struggle. As this new self-concept strengthens, the outer world begins to mirror it back with astonishing precision. The person you desire starts thinking of you more, missing you more, and feeling drawn toward you in ways they cannot explain. Your energy changes completely. You are no longer chasing or pleading for attention. You become magnetic because you already embody the feeling of being chosen, and that inner certainty quietly influences every interaction. Your inner conversations also begin to transform. Instead of replaying painful memories or imagining distance, you create scenes filled with affection, understanding, and closeness. You imagine them speaking to you lovingly, reaching for you, and expressing genuine care. The subconscious accepts these repeated inner experiences as truth, and eventually life begins reflecting them outwardly. What makes this process so powerful is that it also changes the relationship you have with yourself. You begin treating yourself with more compassion and respect. You carry yourself differently. You stop acting from fear of loss and start moving through life with emotional security. Love stops feeling like a struggle you must earn and starts feeling like something natural that flows toward you effortlessly. As you continue living from the assumption of already being loved, your entire world softens. Situations that once triggered anxiety no longer control you. You stop questioning whether you are wanted because inwardly you already know you are. That knowing becomes your foundation, and from that foundation, reality rearranges itself. The beautiful truth is that love is not something you force into existence. It is something you align with internally first. Once the feeling becomes natural within you, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. The version of you who is deeply loved already exists. The more you embody that version now, the more life responds by bringing matching experiences into your reality. In the end, this is the real power of assumption. You stop waiting for love to arrive and begin living as if it is already yours. You stop identifying with the version of yourself who fears rejection and step fully into the version who is cherished, valued, and adored. And when that state becomes your new normal, the outer world simply follows the script you have already accepted within. This entire message is a reminder that your inner world is the true source of your outer reality. Every thought you consistently hold, every feeling you emotionally accept, and every assumption you choose to believe becomes the blueprint for the life you experience. The speech teaches that imagination is not fantasy but a creative force. What you feel as real within yourself eventually takes shape in the world around you. At its core, the message is about stepping into the state of already having what you desire instead of chasing it from a place of fear, doubt, or lack. Whether it is love, success, peace, confidence, or abundance, the key is to embody the feeling of fulfillment now. The outer world is only reflecting the inner state you continuously occupy. When you change your assumptions, your emotions, and your self-concept, life begins to reorganize itself around that new identity. The speech emphasizes the power of focused imagination, emotional conviction, and persistence. It explains that even a few seconds of pure belief and concentrated feeling can begin shifting reality because feeling is the energy that activates manifestation. You are reminded that you do not need to force outcomes, control people, or struggle for results. Your role is simply to remain loyal to the feeling of the wish fulfilled and trust the unseen process. In love, this means becoming the version of yourself who is already deeply loved, chosen, valued, and secure. Instead of seeking validation from the outside world, you create it internally first. As you consistently dwell in the assumption of being loved, your energy changes, your confidence grows, and the world reflects that shift back to you naturally. Ultimately, the speech is about reclaiming your power as the creator of your experience. It teaches that reality does not happen to you but through you. Your imagination, emotions, beliefs, and inner conversations shape the direction of your life. When you stop doubting yourself and begin living from certainty, gratitude, love, and fulfillment, you become aligned with the reality you desire. The final message is simple yet powerful. Become inwardly what you wish to experience outwardly, and life will have no choice but to mirror it back to you. This entire speech is a powerful reminder that the true source of your reality has never been outside of you. It has always been within your own consciousness, your imagination, your assumptions, your emotions, and the identity you choose to embody every single day. The outer world is not separate from you. It is a mirror reflecting the state you consistently hold inside yourself. Every experience, every relationship, every opportunity, and every transformation begins first as an inner movement before it becomes visible in the physical world. At the heart of this message is the understanding that imagination is not fantasy or escape. Imagination is creation itself. What you repeatedly feel as true within your mind and heart eventually becomes the reality you walk through. Your focused thoughts, emotional conviction, and persistent assumptions shape the direction of your life more than circumstances ever could. The speech teaches that manifestation is not about force, struggle, manipulation, or chasing results. It is about alignment. It is about becoming inwardly the person who already has the life, love, peace, success, and fulfillment they desire. The message explains that even a short moment of concentrated belief can begin shifting reality. When you hold a thought with feeling, certainty, and emotional clarity, you activate the creative power within consciousness. The mind becomes magnetic. Your emotions become energy in motion, and the world begins responding to the frequency you consistently embody. Doubt, fear, insecurity, and longing only recreate more of the same, while gratitude, confidence, love, certainty, and fulfillment generate experiences that match those states. A major lesson throughout the speech is the importance of self-concept. The way you see yourself determines the way the world responds to you. If you see yourself as unloved, rejected, unworthy, or forgotten, reality reflects those assumptions back to you. But when you begin to identify as someone who is chosen, adored, respected, abundant, secure, and valuable, life starts rearranging itself to confirm that belief. The transformation always happens internally first. The outer world follows later. In the sections about love and relationships, the speech reveals that love is not something you chase or beg for. Love is something you align with internally. Acting as if someone is already deeply in love with you is not delusion or pretending. It is consciously stepping into the emotional state of already being loved. When you hold that assumption consistently, your inner conversations change, your energy changes, your reactions change, and eventually the outer relationship begins to reflect the new state you have accepted as true. You stop operating from fear and longing and begin living from certainty and fulfillment. The speech also teaches that persistence is essential, not persistence through force or obsession, but through gentle loyalty to the vision you have chosen. The outer world may temporarily show old results because it reflects past assumptions, but if you continue returning to the feeling of your desired reality, the old state eventually dissolves. The key is to trust the unseen process without constantly looking for proof. Manifestation grows like a seed beneath the soil. The moment you impress the subconscious mind with a new belief and continue nourishing it emotionally, reality begins reorganizing itself in ways you cannot always immediately see. Another powerful message woven throughout the speech is emotional mastery. Your feelings are not passive reactions to life. They are creative forces shaping it. Gratitude, joy, peace, confidence, love, and certainty are not just pleasant emotions. They are states of alignment that attract matching experiences into your life. When you emotionally embody your desired outcome before physical evidence appears, you move into harmony with that reality. The outer world then becomes a delayed reflection of the emotional state you consistently maintain. The speech ultimately calls you to stop living as a victim of circumstances and begin living as the conscious creator of your experience. It asks you to stop waiting for permission, validation, or evidence from the outside world before feeling worthy, loved, secure, or successful. Instead, you are encouraged to generate those feelings internally first and allow life to mirror them back naturally. You are reminded that your inner conversations matter, your imagination matters, your assumptions matter, and the emotional atmosphere you live in matters because all of it becomes the foundation of your future reality. By the end of the message, the deeper truth becomes clear. The power you have been searching for has always been inside you. You do not need to force people to love you, force life to work for you, or fight endlessly against circumstances. Your greatest power lies in choosing the state you occupy internally and remaining faithful to it. When you consistently live from love instead of fear, fulfillment instead of lack, certainty instead of doubt, and gratitude instead of desperation, reality has no choice but to reflect those qualities back into your life. The final lesson of this speech is one of empowerment, responsibility, and transformation. You are not here to wait helplessly for life to change. You are here to consciously decide who you are, what you believe, and what reality you choose to embody. The moment you shift within, the outer world begins shifting with you. Your imagination becomes the blueprint, your feelings become the fuel, your assumptions become the command, and your life becomes the visible expression of the reality you first created inside yourself. So the true conclusion of this entire speech is this: become internally what you desire externally. Feel love before love appears, feel abundant before wealth arrives, feel peaceful before circumstances change, feel chosen before anyone confirms it. When you live from the end instead of waiting for it, you step into your true creative power. And once that inner transformation becomes natural, the world can no longer resist reflecting it back to you.